In 2014, St. Louis celebrates its 250th anniversary. Learn what exciting things are in store for the city coming up next on City Corner. Welcome to City Corner. I'm your host, Melanie Adams. Today, we're talking about St. Louis's 250th anniversary, and that's a really big anniversary for the city, so we have a lot of great events and programs planned. Joining me now is Jody Sowell from the Missouri History Museum, and you oversee exhibits.
That's right.
Correct? Well, tell us, how is the Missouri History Museum celebrating the 250th anniversary?
Sure. Well, we're commemorating the anniversary in a number of ways, and one is a big exhibit we have planned opening February of next year. And this exhibit is called 250 in 250. And what we do is showcase 250 years of St. Louis history through the stories of 50 people, 50 places, 50 images, 50 moments, and 50 objects.
Okay, well, let's get the first thing out of the way. Is the anniversary the 13th or the 14th? Because I hear there's controversy over that.
Yeah, 14th, 15th, there's lots of controversy. I think we're going with 15th. Some people are going with 14th. Okay. But I think that's sort of the smallest part of the anniversary. What we're really hoping to do is not sort of get mired down in those debates, but really showcase the richness, diversity, and complexity of the city's history through these various selections.
Right. Now, through these selections, so how hard was it to only pick out 50 for each one of them?
Incredibly hard. So it helped that we said that we're not trying to pick the 50 most important. Okay. So no one can really pick the 50 most important people in St. Louis history. So we threw that off the table right away. I thought that was going to make it easy. So since we weren't going to have that argument about who was more important than the other, since we really were just trying to show that diversity of stories, diversity of not just race and gender, but also experience and topic, I thought that was going to make it a little easier. But sure enough, our first list, we threw it out to all the museum staff and said, who would you nominate for people, for example? And we had about 250 or 300 names that we then had to get down to 50. So it was incredibly tough. We had some arguments. I had someone from our facilities department following me around each day saying that Chuck Berry better be on that list of 50 people, or I think he was insinuating I would be in trouble.
Right. So. Well, so one of the things, so as we narrowed down the list, and I think we have some great images that we can start rolling to talk about some of the people. So obviously we start off with the founder. Sure.
So you couldn't have the list without Auguste Chouteau. I mean, that's a co-founder of the city. That's incredibly important. But I think the people images that you have really show you that diversity of topic that we have. So you have someone like Auguste Chouteau, who is the founder.
Right.
You also have someone like Annie Malone,
who's our next image here.
Right, who is known to you and known to a lot of people. But actually, this story, as I go out and speak to people, I'm amazed how many people don't know this story. Annie Malone, one of the country's first millionaires, certainly the first African-American female millionaire, made her fortune in St. Louis, was an incredible philanthropist around the country. So an amazing story right here in St. Louis that is missed by a lot of people. And then I think your next image is the one that oftentimes people hold up when we say, okay, these aren't necessarily the most important. It really is trying to show you a diversity of experience. And this is Mr. Patches, who a lot of people will remember because they watched him on TV as children. He had a program called The Little Castle. Mr. Patches tells, I think, an interesting story of television history, because there was a time, of course, when if you were watching television in Boston or Memphis, you were watching a very different network, a very different series of shows than if you were in St. Louis or Memphis. Mr. Patches was part of that. He actually, the show ended in 1974, 1975, the FCC rules that kids' TV show hosts can't sort of advertise what burgers kids should be buying or what shoes they should be buying. And that really undercut some of these local television programs because that's what they were relying on.
They were advertising.
So you hear about Chouteau, You hear about Annie Malone, but you also hear about Mr. Patches. We tell people you'll hear about sort of sinners and saints, poets and politicians, composers, and a clown.
Right, that wide range. Well, looking briefly at places, I know we have 3 different places here. Pruitt-Igoe, the Flying Saucer, and Bathhouse 1. And I think of all those 3, probably people would know the least about Bathhouse 1. So tell us a little bit about that.
So bathhouses in St. Louis were incredibly popular. Bathhouse 1 is built in 1907. These are places where I like to say that bathing used to be a communal experience for St. Louisans. So you would go, you would be able to take a bath or a shower in these places. Of course, St. Louis, incredibly dirty, coal pollution fills the air. Anytime you step outside, you're covered in this dust and pollution and dirt. Not many people had their own baths, and even if you did, you had to go out to the well and bring it back several times. So the bathhouses were an amazing convenience and incredibly well attended. So there were 6 bathhouses in St. Louis at one point. I believe Bathhouse 1 more than 500,000 people in the first 8 years. One of the bathhouses reported more than 600,000 just in the first year. So you see how popular these were and a big part of St. Louis history.
And are any of them still standing? Or?
There's one still standing, Bathhouse number 6, which actually I think closed in the 1960s. So that was one that stayed open longer, but you can still see that building. So it's interesting on places we really try to showcase some of those buildings that you still pass every day and some that have been erased from the physical landscape. It's even amazing when I teach college students who grew up in St. Louis and ask them if they've ever heard of Pruitt-Igoe. I oftentimes only get 1 or 2 hands raised. Because it's been erased from the physical landscape, there's no physical reminder out there of this important moment in St. Louis history.
Well, and since you mentioned the word moment, so what is a moment? So how did you determine what were moments?
That's right. So I think that's another one where people might think, oh, moments, those are the big moments of St. Louis history. But what instead we've done is done 50 first-hand accounts of St. Louis history. So 50 eyewitness accounts from St. Louisans describing moments both big and small. So you'll find out about one of the deadliest air disasters, the glider crash in 1943, but you'll also learn about people talking about just walking in the streets of St. Louis. So moments both big and small.
Right, and I think some of the ones we have Lucy Delaney's Freedom Suit, we have our first car of St. Louis, and Dear Santa. And I know I Googled the Lucy Delaney's Freedom Suit because I knew nothing about that. And I was able to download her book from Amazon for free, but talk a little bit about who she is and what her story was.
That's just an amazing story. So right now there's a movie out called 12 Years a Slave, right? And it's about a free black person who was kidnapped and became enslaved. That same dramatic story was happening right here in St. Louis. So Lucy Delaney was the daughter of a free woman. She was kidnapped and brought into slavery, and she sued for her freedom, which is actually something that was happening in St. Louis quite a bit. We have one of the largest collection of freedom suits in the country that you can still look through. Lucy Delaney was held in prison for 1.5 years, waiting for her case to be heard. At 17 years old, remarkably won that case, so was able to sue for freedom. In her firsthand account, she talks both about what it was like waiting for trial and then the joy she felt when she was finally freed. And an incredibly moving firsthand account of St. Louis history.
Right. And I think that's really important because so many people go straight to Dred Scott, and he's at the end.
Right.
And by the time he sues, he's one of the last. And I think it's great that the moments are really first-hand accounts. So these are people's stories. Another one we have, what is the Dear Santa one about?
Dear Santa. This is another incredibly moving one. So this is a young woman writing to the newspaper, sort of a fake letter to Santa about what she could get. This is during World War II, what she would wish for. And she says she would love to wish for peace in the world, but she knows that that's something that has to be fought for to attain. But what she would just like is one regular day where she doesn't have to go work as a riveter in the manufacturing as the men are off to war. Just one day where she could go out with friends, where she could have a date, where she could go to the art museum and see some of the collections that she used to love to see when she didn't have all of these obligations. At the end, she actually talks about wishing that she could go with some other people, but that those people have died in the war. it's just an amazing, amazing account of one woman who finds herself in this new role during wartime. Right. Interestingly enough, those 50 firsthand accounts, some of those are from oral histories, more contemporary oral histories. Oh, okay. Some are historical accounts, like Lucy Delaney or this woman writing to Santa Claus. What we've done for those is we've asked St. Louisans out in the community to come in and read those as if they were these people.
Oh, very cool.
So when you go into this section in the exhibit, you will actually hear all of these firsthand accounts, some from the people, some from voice actors who are reading them.
Well, we only have a couple of minutes left. I want to get to the 50 images because these are of everyday people. So I think we have 3 of these. We have a family going to church. We have a junior class at Washington University. And then we have a Creole woman. So in about a minute or so, which one of those do you think is most interesting?
Well, I think they're all interesting. But the big point is that these are images of everyday life. And as St. Louisans, as they've lived, worked, and played throughout the years, so you can both see how much has changed and how much has stayed the same. The Washington University students, I think, shows you that even in 1893, they should have spent some more time studying, but we're goofing off out in front of the buildings. So.
Great. Well, this exhibit, it's opening at the Missouri History Museum on Friday, February 14th.
Right. Runs for a full year.
Right.
Yes.
And I think one other fun thing, I know there are lots of fun activities planned for that weekend, but there's that step into the historic image because people want to take home. That's
right. So the power of green screen technology, we have some historic St. Louis images that you will get your chance to take your picture inside of. So if you want to stand beside the guys hanging the other guy upside down, you'll get that chance. 1 to 4 during opening weekend, but also 1 to 4 the first Sunday of every month throughout the year. You'll have a different photo that you can get inside of and have a print with you, and that's absolutely free.
Right, and I think there's one more thing. So for everyone who is angry or upset that their image or picture or whatever was not in here, how do they remedy that?
That's right. So we really know that this is going to cause debate. We want to spark that conversation. That's part of it. We're not saying that these are the only 50. And so there are lots of opportunities throughout the exhibit for you to say, here's who you should have included. Right. There's a 51st person where you get to nominate the 51st person. There's a place where you get to write or draw your favorite place. So there will be lots of opportunities for visitors to say, this is who you should have included as well.
Well, great. Well, we look forward to this new exhibit opening at the Missouri History Museum. And coming up next on City Corner, we're going to continue to talk about all of the celebration happening for the city's anniversary. Please return.
Watching online videos like this one.
Brushing for 2 minutes now can save your child from severe tooth pain later. 2 minutes twice a day. They have the time.
Experience St. Louis!
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
The odds of this daughter of a clergyman spending 11 weeks at #1 on the U.S. singles charts? 1 in 19 million. The odds of going on to win 6 Grammy Awards? 1 in 1.4 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism, 1 in 110. I'm Toni Braxton, and I encourage you to learn the signs of autism at autismspeaks.org.
Welcome back to City Corner. Today we're talking about the 250th anniversary of the City of St. Louis. Joining me now is Erin Budde, Executive Director for STL 250. Thank you for being here.
It's great to be here. Thanks, Melanie.
So tell me, how is St. Louis going to celebrate this big anniversary?
Oh, we're going to celebrate it in a big way. 250 is a big number, and so we've got a year-long and region-wide celebration that's planned in partnership, literally, with thousands of organizations across the region.
So when is the celebration going to kick off? When's the first event?
You know, so if we're talking about a year-long region-wide celebration, first night and New Year's Eve is really the best place to start. So we're partnering with Grand Center and their wonderful family-friendly first night celebration down in the Arts District here in St. Louis on Grand and Olive. So it's a full night of wonderful activities, performances that families can take in together, wonderful activities that we'll be doing, but everything will really be themed around this 250th milestone and kicking it off.
Right, and after that, so then we get to that anniversary, the actual weekend, that February 14th through 16th, and there'll be things going on all around the region, but tell me a little bit about what's going down on the riverfront.
You know, so on the morning of the 15th, and that's the day that we're doing the reenactment of the founding of St. Louis. So this 250th milestone is really the founding of the city of St. Louis, and so Laclede's Landing is the perfect spot for it. It's interesting when you think back about that founding moment and those early years of St. Louis's history. We had so many diverse groups that really needed to figure out how to work together, how to get along, how to understand one another. And we have a wonderful opportunity to tell that story of understanding and diversity and inclusion in a way that really modernizes it for some of the work that our community is doing now. So we have reached out and extended an invitation that has been accepted by the ambassadors of both France and Spain.
Oh, wonderful.
By the chief of the Osage Nation, and also by an envoy from Quebec. And so those are really those founding
And they're all
groups
going to be there
They will be here in St. Louis and will be taking a part in the reenactment where we'll really highlight the role that all of those groups played in the success of St. Louis, really becoming not just an outpost or a fur trading station, but really the metropolis that it is today.
Right, and it's not a birthday without cake.
So,
so talk a little bit about your cake program or cake project.
Yeah,
and I think we have some pictures of the cakes kind of rolling along.
Yeah, so I think everybody remembers things like the People Project that happened about 10 years ago here in St. Louis. We're going to take that idea and we're going to bring it into contemporary time with technology. So picture, if you will, 250 4-foot-tall fiberglass birthday cakes. Okay. You know, like the picture. Right. Those will be decorated by local artists, and they'll be placed throughout the 15-county bi-state region, really marking places of note. Not only historical places that were important 250 years ago or 100 years ago or even 50 years ago, but places we love today. So we have 5 categories. They include landmark sites, the great outdoors, St. Louis favorites, I'm sure Crown Candy and Ted Drew's.
We saw that,
there you go. But then also innovation. So we can really speak about, you know, what's great today and heritage and culture, of course, because we have so much diversity that we need to celebrate. All of those cakes will be activated with an application that you can download on your smartphone.
Oh, okay.
And so we're working with some really neat companies here in St. Louis to build that application. And when you download it and you get close to a cake, it'll guide you to where the cake is. Oh, okay. When you're there, it'll push content to your phone about why this place was chosen. And then it'll award you points.
Oh, I can say, is there a prize at the end if I go to all 250 cakes or 50 or 75?
You got it. So we've got this wonderful opportunity not just to compete with one another about who can get the most points, but really and truly to do drawings and sweepstakes for great St. Louis prizes. So we're reaching out to companies in St. Louis to really get those together, and we'll do 2 of those drawings in 2014.
Now, will all the cakes be up and in their locations by February 14th,
Yeah.
or will it be throughout the year?
Yeah, so by the birthday weekend, we'll have them all placed.
okay.
So people will start to see them popping up around the St. Louis region beginning in the early parts of February. We won't unveil all of the locations and some of the maps and different tours that we put together about those different cake locations until the 15th.
And I think so then moving on during that weekend, we also have a big event in Forest Park. I know early on people were like, oh, are you redoing pageant and masque? No, we're not
Yeah.
redoing that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
so what are we doing?
Well, you know, so the pageant and masque from
Right.
100 years ago, I mean, that's a hard one to beat. What is
Right.
it, 450,000 people
Not
over
sure
a
how
four-night
they all
run?
fit in the park, right?
That and the 8,000 St. Louisan cast member cast. I just thought, wow. So no, we're taking it in an entirely different and quirky direction. So we kind of thought about, okay, we got lucky enough that Valentine's Day is right, you know, right there at our birthday. And so what can we do to really tie that theme into our birthday theme? And so we came up with this idea for a Burnin' Love Festival. And so picture a centerpiece temporary public art installation of a 25-foot tall heart that is literally on fire, and we build a festival around it. So we will have wonderful live music throughout the night. Remember, this is on Art Hill, in the middle of February. So we will have lots of heating stations and lots of heated tents to warm up in. We're looking for 250 couples to get engaged that night.
Really?
I think we have a chance to take a run at the Guinness Book of World Records for the most couples engaged at the same place. And it's just fun. So there will be fireworks, there will be family-friendly activities. You'll be able to write your wish to St. Louis in a way that will be encapsulated in a time capsule to be opened at the 300th anniversary. So just picture that Art Hill full of people, hopefully not full of snow and sleds, but we'll try to figure that out too if we need to. But it should just be a really fun night to get together and show our love for each other and for St. Louis.
Right. And one of the really nice things as you talk about all of these different programs is they're all very family friendly.
Absolutely. We really figure that, you know, St. Louis is made up of, what, 2.8 million people? So many of them are families. Some of them are single, though, and young, and some of them are older, and some of them are new to St. Louis, and some of them have been here forever. So each and every one of the activities that STL 250 thinks of as its signature activities, we're really looking at that with a strong eye toward diversity and to make sure that all of those different audiences and St. Louisans really do feel welcome.
Right. And I think something else that everyone knows by now is that Fair St. Louis will be moving into the park.
Absolutely.
So that becomes an activity under STL 250 or a way for us to continue the celebration.
Yeah. So throughout the year, STL 250 has really wanted to have some, we think of them as almost punctuation points to make the year feel special and different. Some we've had to put together, starting from scratch, but some we've gotten really lucky because we've got these festivals that we love so much and that are iconic in our region. And they're run by partners who are just so collaborative. So the folks at Fair St. Louis and the VP organization have really done a nice job of partnering with us, of saying we really want the fair this year to help celebrate the 250th. And so I think being in Forest Park makes it feel different, but I think they've got a lot of great plans that are really going to tie it to the commemoration even more.
Right, and I think that's a good point to make, is I try to describe it to people that STL 250 is really the umbrella organization, and so there are tons of opportunities for organizations to still get involved and host their own type of 250 type of celebration under your umbrella. Is that correct?
It is very correct. So STL 250 is made up of a core group of about 200 volunteers that have been planning this for almost 3 years. And they're diverse as can be. And in spite of that diversity, I think what we all knew was that if we tried to plan everything that was going to be this celebration, we wouldn't get it right.
No.
We would miss perspectives, we would miss things that were important. And so we're issuing not only an invitation, but a challenge and a very sincere ask to all organizations throughout the 15-county bi-state region, nonprofits, neighborhoods, houses of worship, civic groups, to think about how they want to celebrate. Most of these organizations already have events that they do. Can you figure out how to link them to the commemoration, make them special for this year? And if so, we want those on our calendar. It's a very easy process through our website to tell us about your event. We'll go ahead and make sure that that linkage is there, and if it is, not only will it go on our calendar, but we'll help them promote it. So we have this neat opportunity with those 365 days in 2014 to really get people to know the region in ways that perhaps they haven't, to get to know new organizations and new places, and to really see all of the wonderful diversity and assets that we have here.
Well, it seems like it's such a nice yin and yang. So you have the History Museum who's doing kind of the historical side, and as I think as you've mentioned before, you're showing St. Louis in the future, like what, not necessarily what St. Louis was, but what it can be, will be in the future.
And we've been really deliberate about thinking about that whole spectrum in time, from the past to the present and to the future. So we've got amazing partners like the History Museum, who's really doing that great job of telling the story about where we've been and how that impacts where we are now. We have really wonderful folks that are getting together to tell a story about today and to start that conversation about where we could go in the future. And then we've got these really neat ways to highlight what is the cutting edge for St. Louis and how is it reinventing itself.
Right, and I know, so they're sitting at home listening to you, and they really want to volunteer. What type of volunteer opportunities are there?
You know, so they really range. We think about a lot of our programming from grassroots to grand scale, and so that's a neat thing that translates well for volunteerism as well. So we have activities that if you want to volunteer today, we have things that we need your help on. We have office volunteer opportunities, we have event-based volunteer opportunities, so you just need to go to our website and sign up and let us know what kind of a volunteer you'd like to be.
And what is your website? Just remind us, we'll show it again at the end.
Yep, it's www.stl250.org. Easy to remember. Yep, but as we move forward throughout the year, we've also done something in terms of a really big goal. We'd like to recruit 250,000 volunteers. And we want them to log 1 million volunteer hours. It's called
over that year.
Over the 2014 year. So it's a big, audacious goal, but it's one that, with the generosity that St. Louis shows every year and every day, we are certain that we can meet that. So on the United Way of Greater St. Louis's Volunteer Center website, we will have a wonderful listing of all of the STL 250 volunteer activities that we've put together and that our partner organizations have put together. So it's going to be a great place for people who want to help us meet that goal to go to that website, find something they want to spend some time on, go ahead and get logged in and really help improve the region through service. Everybody who logs 25 hours at a minimum will receive a certificate, and we'll recognize them on our website as well.
Great.
AmeriCorps St. Louis is the other partner for St. Louis Serves.
Well, it sounds like there are a lot of wonderful opportunities for everyone to celebrate St. Louis's 250th anniversary. So I encourage all of our viewers to check out the websites, mohistory.org, stl250.org. Check out how you can get involved, and see you next time on City Corner.